today I'm going to demonstrate the sort of traditional way of drawing comics, the old-fashioned way, I would say, but not to be pejorative about it. But I actually draw them in a different way. But times have changed naturally because of digital opportunities and technology that we have at hand. But if you read about comics and the history of comics, what you will often hear the old guys talking about is how they drew their comics with blue pencil, and there are still some people doing that. Now, I brought a blue pencil, but I think my blue pencils are so old that you'll barely be able to see what I'm drawing. They're so faint. I can barely see it myself. Now, why would you use a blue pencil? Well, this blue pencil, in fact, says on it Prismacolor Copy Not, because in the days, 40 years and previous to that, when you did artwork, if you had blue lines anywhere on the page, those blue lines did not photograph. Magically, they did not photograph. Now, because this pencil is old and isn't very nice to draw with, I'm going to draw with another blue pencil just to give you the idea, because it would be easier for me to see what I'm drawing if I could actually see it. Anyway, so in the old days of comics, you would have a panel and you might draw some kind of, I don't know what I'm drawing, I'm just making it up quickly. Oh, maybe it's elf. An elf girl. Okay. So I can work this out. I could draw things and I could say, oh, what the heck is that? That's stupid looking. And I don't even have to erase. I can just sort of scribble over it. And then and sometimes in the history of comics, there was one person who drew with blue line and had the composition of each panel figured out. Just imagine there's another one here and another one here. And then someone called an inker might come along who was very good at drawing, and then using this blue line as a base, go back onto the paper and draw the comic. Now, in drawing it, they would correct all the flaws. They might add all kinds of interesting detail to it. And then, when this picture was photographed for printing, the only thing that would show up would be the black lines, not all the scribbly blue lines that I have underneath. So it would be perfect. And then possibly the inker might put in some words. Sometimes there's another person who puts in the words. Okay, so that's one way of doing comics. But I'm actually currently working on a graphic novel right now, and I will show you how I work, which is a little bit different. Well, one of the reasons it's also different is that rather than using ink, I am using a black colored pencil. So I'm going to show you, this is the dummy for the first chapter of this book. And so I have the dummy together in chapters. So as you can see, it's a double page spread, although this is a bit smaller than the final book will be. So that's what it's like. I've got sketches here. And when I go to do the final art, what I will do is take this drawing. Now, this dummy also has some other things that will not be in my final drawing. It has some word balloons stuck on it, and that won't be on my final drawing. So I would take this now, that rough drawing, and slide it under a piece of my final drawing paper. So what I'm using is, this is drawn on just some regular, this might have just been photocopy paper, but I'm going to draw on a paper called clear print, which is a beautiful vellum paper. And one of the nice features about it is that I can see my drawing underneath. And so as I go in now to make the drawing, I can just look at what I've got underneath, and I may edit it, so to speak, as I go along. And in fact, what I will demonstrate here too is that what you have to be very careful with in terms of drawing is that you don't get the grease, which you don't think your hands have oil, but they do. So when I'm drawing, I have another piece of paper under my hand. And the other thing, which I'm sorry I forgot to bring today, I would have one other thing between this paper, and that would be a clear piece of acetate. And the reason for that is that as I draw here, what I'm going to do, the pressure of the drawing on the paper will pick up some of the pencil that's under here. So I don't want that to be on the final art because it would be like a shadow behind this paper. So I have another piece that I slide under to protect it. But nonetheless, to get on with the situation at hand. So now I'm just very carefully going to go in and start filling in the illustration bit by bit by bit, slowly by slowly. And this is kind of a cityscape, so I'm going to be drawing. I may look around and see where do I want a skyscraper and what parts do I want to darken. I have another piece of paper I'm going to pull out that's a slightly different one that you can see where I've worked a little bit longer. So here's a picture that I'm working on. These are actually sort of some test pictures, but it's the proper kind of paper, and I'm just sort of working out the final look of what these illustrations will have. So here's a picture of the little girl whose name is Marianne, and she's sort of leaning against her suitcase, and I am sort of building up the picture. And that is how I draw a graphic novel.